Hi students, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to learn about the concept of looping in programming as well as pseudocode. We are going to compare how a looping constructs, different looping constructs are used in programming or in pseudocode as well. So before entering to that, we should have a clear idea about where we use selection statements and looping statements. You know that in programming or in pseudocode, we have mainly two types of statement. One is selection or condition, and the other one is looping statement. So where you can use selection statement in real time, you can look at this picture and see that you have two paths, and in this when you reach here just before dividing, here you are going for a checkup whether you are a pedestrian or a cycler. If you are a pedestrian, so you have to go by this route, you cannot go by this route. And are you going to come back and repeat the same route? No, you will just select only one route and you will go there. There can be multiple routes based on the conditions, but here there is only two routes. So like this, this is how a selection statement. Here, the main thing to note is you are not going to repeatedly select this. No, if it is inside a loop, it can be. But here in this case, you are not going to repeatedly select these routes. You are going for a checkup and you will select any one of the routes and you are going by that path, right? So here, now look at this looping statement. In looping statement, here there is a car. It's a circus. In the circus, here a car with a driver. He is going to rotate the car through the same path. He is using the same path and he is going to rotate. Suppose that the director of the circus ordered him to rotate for 10 times. So suppose the driver is going to enter to the loop through this way, and when he just complete one rotation, he will count it is one. Now again, when he rotate the second way, he will count two. So like that, each time when he finish a successful rotation, he has to count, and he has to keep in mind or a timer. And once he finish a successful 10 rotation, he has to come out of the loop. So here we are using different pathways, but here we are using same pathway multiple times. That is the difference between looping and conditional statement. Now let's slowly enter to the looping part. There are mainly, in programming or in pseudocode, there are mainly three kinds of looping. The first one is for loop, second one is repeat until loop, and the third one is while loop. So before getting an idea about it, we can just understand the structure of these three loops in programming as well as in pseudocode. First one is programming. So in VB program, for loop can be written with for with the condition, and in at last it is stopped with next. But in pseudocode, it will be same like this, and it is stopped with end for keyword. Okay, so here in pseudocode, keep in mind that all the keywords, these all are keywords, these all keywords are written in capital. That is the main important thing to keep in mind when you write in pseudocode. Okay, now for repeat until, you can see that there is no repeat until loop in VB. So instead we use do loop until. So but when it comes to pseudocode, repeat until is coming, and uh, while while loop, where it is same like while and while. Here again while and while, there will not be space, sorry. Now can you see a difference between repeat until and while loop? You can see that the condition for repeat until comes at the last, and the condition for while loop comes at the beginning. That's why if the conditions comes at the top or at the beginning statement, then we call it as a precondition statement or precondition loops. Okay, for this here, for repeat until, the condition comes at the last. That's why it has got the name post condition statements. Okay, or post condition loops. So we can come to know about, now you got a structure. Now we can get a clear idea by doing an example. Here I have taken example. Write a VB program to display numbers between 1 to 10. Your task here is to display 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, up to 10. You have to just display that. In this case, you can simply use console.writeLine 1, console.writeLine 2, like that, but only 10 numbers are there. But just think about you are directed to print 1,000 from starting from 1 to 1,000. It is you it's but practically it's impossible. You have to write 1,000 steps. In this case, in such cases, we can use what? Looping. Why? Because you are going to use the same command. What is that? Console.writeLine 1, console.writeLine 2. So there the same command is used multiple times, again and again. So in this case, what we can do here, look here, dim I as integer. Everywhere you can see that this statement is used. So you can see that every time when you use a loop, you need a variable for that loop. We call this variable as looping variable. Looping means, here let me go back to this picture. I can tell that each time when the driver finishes a successful rotation, the driver will increase his count. At the beginning, when he finish first one, he will tell that, oh, one loop is finished. Second time when he reaches here, second loop is finished. So that when he is keeping it in mind, but in computer we cannot keep like that in mind. So we use a variable and we increment it. Each time when a loop is finished, we increment the value of this loop. Are you getting? So here we are using a variable called I. Okay, iteration variable or looping variable, we call like that. Now look at this. We are just entering slowly to for loop. For loop, for I equal 1 to 10, so that means starting from 1, you have to rotate up to 10. You have to loop up to 10. So in the first loop, the value of I is 1. We don't have to look at this part now. We are just getting the value of I as 1. Now after this we are directly going to console.writeLine of I. What is the value of I here? 1. So 1 will be printed. Now once it is finished, there is a hidden command in for loop, which is step 1. Step 1 is equal to what? Just give me a minute, sorry. Okay. Step 1 is equal to I equal I plus 1. Oh, so the value of I get increased once it is finished. So first this is finished, then slowly going here. Okay, after this is finished, then we have to go to this part. Step 1. Now then value of I is finished again, increased again. After that we are coming back to this step. So like this it is getting repeated. Okay, so here you know that in the second step the value of I will be 2, so 2 will be printed. In the first, 1 will be printed, 2 will be printed, then the value of I will become 3, so 3 will be printed. Like this up to 10 we need to print. Now let's have a look at repeat until loop. How we can write repeat until loop? You need this a variable. That's why the looping variable is this. So that's why you declared it, and after that you can see a new statement. Here in for loop you cannot see this statement I equal 1, because you know that in this for loop at the beginning we wrote that I equal 1. The value of I is initialized, or initializing in the sense we are giving the first value to that variable. So we used a looping variable here. So for that variable we need to give an initial value. But here in for loop, inside the condition itself we are giving what? The first value, initial value. So here in this loop, repeat until loop, you can see that there is no statement here to give initial value. So that's why we have to give it just before the loop. So we gave the value as 1. Otherwise, it will be treated as 0. Okay. Now, after that, we are slowly entering to the loop. Do. There is no conditions to check. So directly what we will do, we will output the value of I. The value of I is 1. So 1 is printed. and after that I equal I plus 1. What is I plus 1? I plus 1 is 2. No, 1 plus 1 is 2. So after that we are checking, is it equal to 11? No, it's not equal to 11. In that case, what we have to do? We have to go back to what? Do loop again. Do what? Console.write line. So the value of I became 2 before, no? So 2 will be printed here. Again, I equal I plus 2, that will be 3. So 3, is it 3 equals 11? No, we are going back again. So like this, the process continues until 10. Okay, so when it becomes 10, it will be printed, and I equal I plus 1, that means 11 is, it is equal to 11. So we are coming out of the loop. This is what happening in repeat until loop. Now for while loop, you can see that dim I as integer, that means we need a looping variable. So we declared it. After that I equal 11, we initialized it. After that, what is the next step here? While I less than, here in repeat until, there were no condition here, but for this while loop we are checking at the beginning, that is a precondition loop, right? So we are checking whether the value of I is less than 11. Yeah, it's less than 11, this because it's 1 now, right? So then you print this. Then after printing, so here it will be 1 will be printed. Then after that we are just incrementing the value I equal I plus 1, that means 1 plus 1 will be 2, no? So it will be 2. Then what we have to do? Look, we are coming back. End while means we have to, in this case, we have to come back to this. Now, what I plus 1 plus 1 will be 2. We are just checking, is 2 less than or 11? Yeah, 2 is less than 11. So again, we will what? Print the value of I. The value of present value of I is 2, so 2 will be printed. Now, I plus 1 will be 3. 3 will be printed like that. So when this condition is true, or when this condition satisfies, then this will continue. The looping will work. The looping will happen. Now let's see, when the value becomes 10. Okay, the value of I becomes 10. What will happen? I equal I plus 1. 10 will be printed. After that, I equal I plus 1 will be what? 11. No, in the case of 11, is I less than 11? No, is I is equal to 11, right? So in that case it is wrong. So in that case it will directly come to end while, and it will go outside the loop. It will go outside the loop. That is the concept of this looping. Okay, so now guys, we can go down. We are just converting this the VB program which we have written into pseudocode. You can see that, declare I, instead of AS, we use a colon and integer. You can see that I just told at the beginning, all the keywords are written in capital. That's why you can see everything in capital. And, we are assigning a value to I. That's why, and what an arrow, a left arrow is given here when we are assigning a value. But I'm just writing another one. If I equal 1, is it correct? This is not correct. This is entirely wrong. You know what? Because we are not assigning here, we are just checking whether the value of I equal 1. So in that case you have to explicitly write what? If I equal 1. Okay, so you should know this one. Okay, this is wrong and this is right. Okay, now here there is nothing to keep in mind. Output I, instead of console.write line, at last instead of next we use end for, and the same thing. Okay, here do loop is not there. Repeat until is not there in VB program. That's why do loop is used. Here repeat until is there. So that's all about the two types of looping. Now what you have to do is, here we used a number. The program was to write or to display the numbers from 1 to 10. But it's a slight variation of this program is given here. Write a program to display from 1 to an integer input. To an integer input means here it was given clearly 1 to 10. But here the 10 is not given. That you have to ask the user. So enter a number. So for example, you have to enter a number which is bigger than or which is above 1. So if the user entered 20, you have to display numbers from 1 to 20. So in that case, what changes you have to make here? You should keep in mind, because if you have understood this lesson, for sure you can do this one. Here, let me repeat, here 10 is given, 1 to 10, the range is given, but here